Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the Let's Talk Fishing video podcast. My name is Jay Angel, and I'm going to be your host for this evening. With me tonight, I've had a guy who's been on my show several times. Man, this guy knows how to catch gator trout. He's over there in the great state of Florida, on the other side of Florida, near Jacksonville. I have none other than Ryun Snyder. How you doing tonight, Ryan?
Good, Jay. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, man. I had a great trip out to beautiful Delacroix, Louisiana. I mean, you want to see what some beautiful marsh. Delacroix is the place. It's just Delacroix is kind of down at the edge of the world. There are no. There's a couple of fishing lodges you can stay at, but you got to climb up a long staircase to get to them. There are no restaurants. So, if you're going to be hungry and tired after you get off the water, you better bring your food.
Or bring somebody with you to cook, huh?
Yeah, I brought my wife. She drove me home. But first thing I'd like to say, I'd like to put out prayers to my buddy Rob Welsh, who's having some health issues this evening, currently in the hospital. Rob, my thoughts and prayers are with you, buddy. You know Rob Welsh. You met him.
I do. I didn't know that. I didn't know he wasn't doing so well. So, Rob, I hope you recover quickly, man.
Yeah. As you can see, Rob's with us right now. Good friend right there. Good friend. Thank you, Rob. Good afternoon to you too. Anyways, so you have some stuff you want to show us, don't you, Ryan?
I always have a few things. So, I mean, everything I got laid out in front of me here, it all kind of ties into how I fish and how I catch. I lend a lot of this to how I catch these big fish. So, for those that don't know, I do work for a fishing company, a tackle company. It's on there on the screen there. It's Recom Outdoors, and that's our parent company. And then underneath of that, we have Diamond Fishing Products, Momoy Fishing Line, Zack Attack Lures, Bridal Buddy. And then, but for those that aren't familiar with Diamond Fishing Products and Highliner, we do a various amount of different fishing lines, leader material, terminal tackle. I mean, just about everything to get you out on the water, minus a rod and reel. So a big part of catching these big trout is stealth and being able to cast a long way. So, I personally believe that about 80% of my large trout, and I consider any trout over like 25 inches to be large.
25.
Yeah, I the number keeps going up, and it sounds bad, but I'm blessed.
That doesn't sound bad. It just seems kind of unattainable for me.
Yeah, well, I'm blessed with a fishery in my backyard that's just probably one of the best in the country. So that lends a big hand. But one of the most important products that I use for catching these big trout is a high quality braided fishing line. So
first of all, is it clear water where you're fishing?
Absolutely not. It is so dirty. It is so brown.
Okay. But that's exactly what. Please show that. That's exactly what I use.
So that's the Diamond Fishing Products Apex Micro Braid.
Put that a little. Yeah, there you go. The Diamond Micro Braid. And what size braid? What pound?
This one's 20. I run this one's 20. I run a wide range of sizes depending on what I'm doing. I've gone down as far as 6 pound, and I go as heavy as 30. So it all just depends what I'm doing. This is definitely my favorite color in the lineup, and that's the Overcast Gray.
Okay.
So it's a very dark color, blends in well to the surface. Now, does it make a 100% difference? Now, I don't know that for a fact, but I'm confident in. I know that it, on the surface of the water, the fish can't look up and see it. It blends right in. So That's a big factor in my fishing style and catching these big trout. Being able to throw that, 50, 60 yards with some lures and working from a distance where those fish can't hear the subtle slap of the water against the side of the boat or you moving in the boat, any of that stuff, these big trout are very smart. So they didn't get big by being dumb. So another one of the products that we carry and we make is the Highliner fluorocarbon. It's a relatively new product to us in our lineup, about a year now. But it's very budget friendly for fluorocarbon, first off. And it's a very good product. It's super clear, it's smooth, it ties a really good knot. It's not super stiff like some of the other fluorocarbons on the market. It's a little bit more, it's a little softer, which I like. Like I said, it ties a really good knot. So that's another key factor in these big trout. I think they have really good eyesight, and you won't catch me throwing monofilament. That's for sure. I mean, any little advantage you can get over a big trout is a big advantage in your favor.
So what you're saying is you use fluorocarbon leaders then?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
100%.
Guy I was fishing with this weekend, Delacroix it was clearer than I've ever seen it. You could probably see down 10 inches last weekend. And there was so much vegetation in the water that he says he ties direct because of the vegetation. That
I can see that.
The
got
braid,
a lot of grass around, cut through the grass with the braid.
He had all kinds of different grass in there. I mean, Delacroix is looking very healthy now.
That's
just
good.
Vegetation everywhere. And, the vegetation cleans up the water. Vegetation builds land.
Yeah. No, I mean, vegetation's great. We don't have in our fishery. It's a very dark water fishery. We don't have any water-based vegetation. We have Spartina grass along the banks and stuff like that, but nothing growing from the bottom of the from the mud.
What's the forage then?
The forage is a lot. It's heavy bait fish, very heavy bait fish. A bit of crustaceans like shrimp and crabs and stuff like that. But like you and I discussed before the show here, big fish don't eat. I don't want to say don't eat crustaceans. They switch their diet at some point. So the bigger they get, they're looking for that one meal. They don't want to waste their energy, eat a whole bunch of little stuff. And then, I'm not saying they absolutely will not eat a 3-inch long shrimp, but they're gonna focus their efforts more on a bait fish profile,
like
or some kind of bait fish, mullet, menhaden, as you guys probably call them over there. We call them pogies here.
Yeah. You call them both. They're kind of interchangeable. Yeah.
Croakers. Trout love a croaker. Love croakers.
They also eat a lot of pinfish because the pinfish eat their eggs.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they're definitely. They're not too picky when it comes to a bait fish. If it fits in their mouth, it's going down the hatch. I told you, and I'll tell the audience. One of the local guide on our fishery. This was a few years ago. And I want to say the trout that he caught or his client caught was 28 inches, if I remember correctly. And they caught it on the top water. So that fish came up and hit the top water. They get it to the boat. And as they're taking pictures of this beautiful fish, they notice in its throat there's a tail hanging out. And they ended up getting the fish out of inside of its mouth. And it was a 17-inch long redfish.
Whoa. Jeez.
Down the hatch of a 28-inch trout. So that trout was only 11 inches longer, but it ate a 17-inch long redfish.
No, wow. I've seen smallmouth bass try to take bait out of another smallmouth's mouth. I've also seen northern pike choke on fish that they were trying to eat because
That'll do the
he's
same
got so
thing.
aggressive. Yeah, I've caught 17-inch northern pike on a 10-inch long lure.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. I've started throwing bigger and bigger lures lately. I mean, I'm
anything you
chasing.
can show us that you would use for something that when you say
I mean,
big lure, what do you mean?
a lot of the stuff I throw is pretty standard, I would say. I haven't gotten like too overly crazy just yet.
Let me show you. Tell you if this works.
So, one of the baits that I throw a lot, especially in the springtime, is like a 5-inch paddle tail.
Okay.
This one,
Yeah.
that's my favorite. This one's my go-to. Wigglers, I think they're called.
What about
What's that?
something like this?
Something like that. I got something similar.
The dual reality.
I've thrown a little bit larger, but this is a Gulf Coast Customs. I think he calls it his little mullet. I could be wrong. I want to say it's 5 inches. And I actually bought this one unpainted from him and painted it up myself because I like my own little unique colors. But that guy there, you can see it's got a couple teeth marks in it. But all around, I mean, like lately this spring, like all of my big fish have come on 2 different patterns. One being a topwater, like this guy here.
Like something like a Miradyne?
Yeah. This one here, the closest, I guess there's a few companies making them now. I hand paint these myself. I buy the blanks from a couple different websites, but Mansfield Knocker makes one. I think 6 Sense Fishing just started making one. They call it a peanut.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of
like a peanut, yeah.
It's kind of a peanut style. It's a weird kind of shape. It has amazing sound. It's got a little bit of a single knock to it, and then a little bit of the smaller rattles working in there. That bait's caught me a lot of fish, and this one's actually this one's retired. It sits on my retired rack over here after the morning of the fish that's on the screen there.
You caught that fish on a topwater.
That fish was on this topwater, like this exact topwater right here.
So you just work it, just a simple walk the dog thing.
Simple walk the dog. I change my cadence when I start my morning. I start with like I guess some people would say it's a fast. I call it a semi-fast. I'm not burning it super fast, but I'm not working it real slow. And I'll throw a pause in there every now and then. I'll kind of change the cadence up first thing in the morning just to see how they want to react. And, as soon as I get a bite, it's like, all right, that's the cadence they want. Now my cadence turns back to that. But now if I go like 10 casts, like say the cadence was like 4 pops and a pause, and I got bit on the pause. If I do 10 casts like that, I'm gonna stop doing that. Like I'm like, all right, that's that was just one time. Like now I go back to switching my cadence up, throughout my cast, and I don't do until I figure out how they're eating and how they want the cadence of the topwater. I don't dedicate a whole cast to one cadence. I'll actually incorporate 3, 4, 5 different cadences through my entire cast. Because sometimes, especially these big trout, they'll get behind a bait and they're following it, but they just don't want to eat it. And a simple change, like speeding it up or slowing it down or stopping it completely, all of a sudden that fish is like, got to eat it,
A lot of people like to bust on forward-facing sonar, but that has taught me so much about fish behavior. I was out on a place called False River, which is about an hour north of my house, fishing for largemouth bass, and we were casting deep diving crankbaits over deep brush piles. And I was looking at that. I'm like, is something following my lure? And the guy I was fishing with looked at his forward-facing sonar, and he said, "There's about 6 bass following your lure right now." So I stopped it. Pop to pop, 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 reel. we couldn't get them to bite, but they would follow it every single time.
Yeah.
You know, I think that happens a lot more than we ever thought.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I said, the fishery for these big trout, like it's dark water. You're never going to see a fish moving. The only movement you see is them crushing your top water. If you're throwing anything outside of a top water, you don't see any movement. So we always joke about like we have some really tough days. You can fish for 6 hours and not even get a bite. And you're like, I wonder how many 30-inch trout I've rolled my lure past today. They just don't eat.
I like your positive frame of mind, because the way my brain works, I wonder if I even pulled this lure past a fish today.
Well, in our fishery, I know that they're there. It's just a matter, like I said, it's a matter of making them eat. And
Where are they gonna go?
Yeah, like this year we got on like a really weird bite in the early spring where like we'd get a couple fish on top water first thing in the morning. As soon as the sun would come up, we'd throw everything. We would throw Paul Browns, we'd throw Mirrodines, Pav lures, swim baits. I mean, you name it, we threw it. And the only thing that they would eat after the sun came up was, and I hated it. I hated it so much until I set the hook on a fish. Was a Mirror Lure Little John XL, which is a soft plastic that Mirror Lure makes. If you're not familiar with it, and
like a Paul Brown.
No, it's just a soft plastic bait, and it's about that big. It's about I think they're 4.5 inches or something like that. It's a
Mirror Lure.
Soft plastic.
And what's it called?
The Little John XL. It's like 4 inches or 4.5 inches, and it literally just looks like a carrot. Like it is a straight, like I don't know. It is the weirdest looking bait. And we'd fish it on a jig head and we'd bounce the bottom, and either you got a super subtle bite and you came tight and it was like a 26, 27-inch fish, or it was the most violent bite you've ever felt. And
well, that's
it was
a 4 1/4-inch twitch bait.
But you see how like it's an all soft it's a soft plastic that you rig on a jig head, and that thing looks like a carrot. Is the best way I can describe it. Like it is the weirdest thing. We were bouncing the bottom. It was the only thing they would eat after the sun came up, and I hated it, but it caught fish. So I mean, these trout, they're such weird fish, and they get in these moods, and no matter what, you can have the most amazing soul lunar forecast, you could have great pressure, great weather, and they just don't want to eat. Like it's interesting. And me and my buddies, we beat ourselves up over it, but it pays off every now and then. I mean,
yeah, it does.
The picture that's on the screen there, that fish is 30 inches long. She weighed 8.69 pounds, and she was released healthy. Here in Florida, you can no longer keep fish over 19 inches, which I love. I don't keep any trout at all. But so that fish was almost 8 3/4 pounds, and not even 10 minutes later, throwing the same bait, I get another blow up, come tight on that fish, put her in the net, and that fish was 28 inches, so it's 2 inches shorter than the one on the screen, but weighed 8.49 pounds. The thing was built like a linebacker. I mean, it was a very healthy fish, and again, she swam away. But that's what, we put in all this time in trying to figure these fish out. There's so many bad days and some very good days to go with it. But yeah, they're trout they got a special place in my heart.
Oh yeah, man. I'm addicted too. So what was that? What was that called again? A Mirror Lure Little John XL.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get a picture so I could show these guys, and
I almost
was...
grabbed one out of my truck too. I don't think I have one up here on my countertop. It's the most ridiculous looking lure, and you're like, nothing would ever eat that, but they eat it.
Yeah, they do. Well, there's just no telling for what fish will eat.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I switch things up a lot. I typically go out with 3 rods. Every rod has something different on it. If I got more space in the boat, like if I'm fishing solo, I'll have 4 or 5 rods on the boat with me, and I'll throw the kitchen sink at them and until something happens. And if nothing happens, then it's one of those days, and I'm just gonna tuck my tail between my legs and head for the hill. You know, here now, rolling into the summertime, I'll fish hard first thing in the morning, and then I mean I'm fishing like some mornings, especially on a full moon. I'll start at 4 a.m. I'll be on the water at 4 a.m. and throwing a top water or a big glide bait or just something big.
I mean, what a
Under.
great time! What a great time to be fishing top water, or,
Yeah,
or,
I
or
mean,
something that goes right underneath the water like this.
yeah, big glide baits,
I was
big
fishing next
paddle
door.
tails. Anything with a large presence, you can work higher in the water column if you're fishing at night. In my opinion, and this is going for a shallow body of water. Obviously, if you're fishing 10, 15 foot, that's different. But fishing a shallow body of water, like where we fish, is typically 2 to 4 foot. I'm fishing something high up under a full moon, especially if I can get that moon overhead. That's
Yep.
really good. And I'm burning it in the dark, but I'll fish, leading into the summertime here. So it's getting hotter and hotter. I mean, it was 94 degrees today. I'm fishing 4 a.m. till like 9 a.m. and I'm done. That's it. The fish they'll shut down, especially those big fish. And it's not always. Sometimes I've popped a couple of 27, 28-inch fish at noon in the middle of summer. But for the majority of it, the best bite is going to be that early morning because
You have better luck. You have better luck like in February, in the coldest months of the year.
I honestly don't trout fish a whole lot in February. It depends on the water temp. Our fishery gets really, really tough when it gets cold. Like these fish get super lethargic. They don't want to feed. I mean, but that is a really good time to catch like the one you're looking for, big giant trout. I spend a little bit more time offshore in the winter here than I do inshore fishing. So
around here the fish come in. We could call it the inside, into the marsh in the wintertime. And then they move back out like to the first rigs, reefs, barrier islands.
yeah.
So it just gets too hot,
Yeah,
I don't know if that's
100%.
good, but that's
I
maybe
mean,
they're following the food. I don't know.
yeah, they could be. I mean, we got fish that move around here too. They come in and out. But yeah, I just typically don't end up trout fishing a whole lot in February. I just we're either wahoo fishing or doing some sea bass fishing near shore, stuff like that. Stuff that we only really take advantage of in the wintertime. And then as that water does start to warm up, though, that trout bite turns on because those fish are getting ready to spawn. They're feeding up, and then after they spawn, they feed up again. So the spring is a very magical time for a big trout. So
how many acres is this body of water you're fishing?
it's about 9 miles by, I think at the widest point it's about a half a mile wide.
Okay, so it is a decent size.
Oh yeah, and it's become a little easier for me to fish in the last few months. I upgraded from a kayak to a ginu, so
There you
now
go.
the whole 9 miles is within reach. Before we were doing, some days I'd do 12, 14 miles in my kayak in a day, just bouncing between spots, up and down, up and down. Now it's, well, let me crank the motor up and we'll be there in a couple minutes.
I have fished out of a ginu. Yeah,
It's a fun little boat.
Two big guys in a ginu, man.
Yeah, it's a fun little boat. You know, I had a lot of custom work done to mine to get it where I wanted it, but it's been fun. It's
Like
been fun.
forward facing sonar and a couple of.
No, none of that stuff. None of that. But do you have a iPilot trolling motor on the front, spot lock, and all that? Did some rear casting deck, front casting deck. Ripped one of the seats out of it, make some more room in the center. Put a flat, put a false floor in the boat as well, so that way the whole boat's flat. There's a little bit of a step down between the casting platforms, but just for comfortability, like standing with your feet like this all day in the bottom of a canoe essentially is not ideal. So I made everything flat. Whole deck is all flat, great for standing, easy to move around. So yeah, it's been a game changer. So
Down here, I catch a lot of my trout on the Mojo shrimp.
yeah.
And believe it or not, I have caught some over 20 inches on this.
Yeah, I mean,
I usually put that now. The new way that we're starting to do that in really tough current is we'll actually drop shot that. And actually, it's kind of a modified drop shot. Now back when I was walleye fishing, we called them 3-way rigs. You have your dropper, then you have your trailer that comes off the end of it. So you're just tying a couple of loops with no slip knots, and put an ounce weight on that and cast it out and just work it down in the current.
Gotcha.
Also, this is particularly good underneath a popping cork. I'm not a fan of popping corks, but I've caught so many fish on them. Man, I just like you said, once I set the hook, I forget all about it.
Yeah, I'm hard-headed when it comes to a popping cork. I cannot pick that thing up. I can't do it.
But we catch so many this weekend. I probably casted something like this probably 200-300 times, didn't get touched.
Yeah.
And then the guy looks at me and goes, "Man, we're gonna have to go to bait." Like, man, if that's what's gonna all that matters is fishing in the boat.
Yeah, that's fair.
So we put on popping corks. Well, I already had a popping cork, rig on one of my rods, and we cast it out, and we had 2 fish in the boat within 10 minutes. Same spot.
Yeah. Sometimes,
And he said, now we have 60 spots to try again.
Yeah, now you gotta go back to everything you already fished.
All that was biting were redfish, and he knew that because of 30-mile-an-hour winds. He said, we just can't get out to where the trout are at.
Yeah.
The trout are already on the outside, and we just can. It's 20 miles that way.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like when I'm trout fishing, I know I could probably catch more fish throwing live bait and all that, but I can't get myself to do it. I'm not, I'm hard-headed when it comes to throwing artificial. Plus, it doesn't help. I did join. I think I was telling you about it. I did join the heavy hitters trout tournament this year, and that's all artificial only. So more reason I can't throw artificial. Or I mean, throw live bait.
About working something like this and having a trout just smash it, because the big trout are not like the little schoolies that just the little schoolies will come up and take your paddle tail off. They take the paddle off your paddle tail. A big trout's going to come up and just devour something like this.
Yeah, and even if you I've caught quite a few trout over 25 inches on a little 3-inch paddle tail. Just
I have too. But this is imitating bait. It's imitating a minnow.
When a big trout, like a 25-inch plus fish, and even it doesn't even have to be 25 inches, but a big trout eats a 3-inch paddle tail, a lot of times you don't even feel the bite, because that fish comes up behind the paddle tail and eats it so hard that it actually continues with the bait, and the line goes completely slack. And you're reeling to catch up. Like all of a sudden you're sitting there just reeling a paddle tail, you're not you know, you feel the thump, 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 and then all of a sudden you don't feel anything at all. You didn't feel a tick or anything. No thump, no pop, nothing. Just it's gone. And you're like, uh-oh, it's ate. And you just you got to reel faster and come tight on that fish. And I've had a lot of times where that happens, like with a mirrodine or even with a glide bait, and that line goes slack, and I can't reel fast enough to catch up.
Can't reel fast enough, man. That fish is reeling. That fish is swimming because he just came in a predatory response.
Yeah,
he's going full speed to catch that thing, get it in my mouth now, get it down my throat before something else takes it away from me.
Yeah. And I mean, I've had him do it where I'm reeling like for 40 feet. Like I reel almost all my cast back before finally, like, either like most of the time when it's that long of a distance, the fish isn't even on there anymore. He threw the bait.
He's trying to spit hooks, and if he can, he will.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know we have 5 minutes left.
All right.
If you'd like to do shout outs.
What's that?
Would you like to do shout outs or?
Yeah. So you know, obviously shout out to my boss and work, you know, Recom Outdoors, Diamond Fishing Products, for allowing me to go out and fish as much as I do.
Nice.
You know,
nice.
every now and then I get to call it research and development and hightail it out of the office. So that's nice. Shout out to them. And then yeah, I mean, outside of that, I mean, it's just, you know, shout out to my buddies who deal with me and my craziness and getting up so early and going with.
Oh man, you know, I'm like 2.5 to 3 hours away from all the good fishing spots on the coast. So if we're gonna fish in the summer, we gotta take off at 2:30.
Yeah.
You know, get down there to get our bait and get out on the water before sunrise.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know what you mean. It's almost an hour drive for me to get to where we fish. It's not quite as bad as 2.5 hours, but still, you know, if I'm fishing at 4 o'clock in the morning, it's an early morning.
Well, you know, you got to get there when the fish are biting, and you know, if it's a sunrise bite, you don't have. If you get there and the sun's starting to peak up, you've already missed it.
Yep, that's exactly right. I mean, I can't tell you the last time I got on the water before the sun, or after the sun was up.
Oh, just such a waste of time.
Yep. Nope. 100% agree on that one.
No, now we're primarily fishing tides, so if you have a really strong tide, you haven't totally ruined the day.
No, I mean, like when I go red fishing and stuff like that, every now and then I'll be like, I got an evening, you know, I got an evening low tide. I can leave work now, especially in the summertime. I can leave work and go have 2 or 3 hours on the water and catch a bunch of redfish on a low tide. You know, it's just that fishery we have for those trout. It's just one of those weird things. Get there early, or I guess get there. You can get there real late and fish into the dark. I actually have not done that one yet. I have to try that.
Now, does anybody wade fish?
There's a few nut jobs that do. I say nut jobs for a good reason, because there's a very small area that you can actually wade fish without sinking to your knees in mud.
Okay.
And then there's the very large alligator population.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a few nut jobs that do it. You won't catch me doing it.
Oh, but you know, in Port Mansfield, Texas, that's how they do it. Also out in the Chandelier Islands and Louisiana.
Yeah, 100%. But you know, at least in those places, maybe not all the time, but at least sometimes the water's clean and you can kind of see what's going on around you. And sharks are not as big of a worry to me as an alligator that you can't see in chocolate milk colored water.
You know, in the places that I wade fish, it's you can't see, and there are sharks everywhere. And I tell the guys, you have to use some common sense. Don't use a stringer. And one year a guy did that, and his stringer lasted. He had 2 18-inchers on his stringer, and he threw it back in the water, and it lasted about 25 seconds. He felt a tug. he had half trout, and I said, I'm going to show you how dangerous that really is. And one of my friends was shark fishing. Hey man, I got some bait for you. He put on a half trout that was 9 inches long, and he waded out, threw it out as far as he could, and he didn't even get back to the shore before to set his rod in a sand spike before he had a nice whitetip hook. Told him, man, they're everywhere.
No, yeah, sharks are bad. I had fished on Tuesday offshore, and we couldn't get away from them. It was terrible. We had so many nice fish get eaten by sharks. It was very sad, but you know.
Well, that's all the time we got for tonight, guys. I have to keep this short because Facebook will not upload a file, a large file. So, anyways, man, thank you so much, Ryan. Man, you do a great podcast. I love talking to you. So knowledgeable about trout, and that's fastly becoming my favorite fish. I never thought I'd ever say that, with something better than bass.
Yeah,
Wow.
I never thought it myself, and then I caught my first real, first big trout, and that was it. So, but thanks for having me on, Jay. I appreciate it. It's a good time, and I'm sure I'll talk to you again soon.
Stick around after the show. I got to end this now. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Let's Talk Fishing podcast.